Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So this is a brief topic, never judge a book by its cover. We can apply that phrase to almost anything in life. People, art, uh, whatever the case may be, even literally a book. But in this case it's about movies, of course, and I often find myself never quite judging a movie by its poster or what the movie is about before seeing it. It can be problematic because sometimes, of course, there's cookie-cutter Hollywood movies being made with formulas that we can all anticipate what's going to happen from one frame to the next. But in some cases there are surprises. What I don't like is when people say, for example, let's say with 1988's The Last Temptation of Christ. Now, when that movie came out, the protesters who said nobody should see this movie, and that would be Christians, fundamentalists, Catholics, a bunch of people who practiced religion as a vocation, were telling people not to go see this movie. But they didn't see the movie themselves. So they kind of apply the logic, well, you know, it's I know garbage when I see it, and that's garbage. Well, you know, but if you haven't seen it, nor read the book, this is going to be an issue. So, Last Temptation of Christ, of course, is a popular example because a lot of people who haven't seen the movie don't know what it is that they are exactly criticizing if they haven't seen it. At the time, the thought was, well, you know, Jesus has sex with Mary Magdalene, and they have kids, and this was seen as a huge issue. This, you know, I can't see a movie that does this sort of thing, because this is not what how I view the Bible. But the truth is, of course, that what they were complaining about in the movie happens in such a short amount of time, and it's actually during a temptation that he has on the cross, brought on by Satan. So it's not actually something he is doing. It's sort of like It's a Wonderful Life, like George Bailey, you know, the alternate existence of the town that he lives in, when in fact it's not really what's happening. It's just, this is what may happen if you do this, you know, if you go this direction. So that's a popular example, and then of course people would miss out on a lot of what the film actually has to say, not to mention, of course, the book itself by Nikos Kazantzakis. Now, but even so, you know, controversial films, which we don't hear too much of anymore, but movies that cause a rift, those are movies I'm interested in seeing just as much as anything else, even cookie-cutter stuff. So, of course, that's where the logic is applied. But the logic is also applied to other things. Like, for example, I'm not a huge fan of Adam Sandler. But there are times I do find them funnier than the movies he's in, by and large. But if there is a movie of his I'm not really interested in seeing, I won't go see it. I won't tell other people don't go see it, and thus, I really can't, I have to reserve judgment until I see it. Anyway, no matter what it is, even a Yahoo Serious movie, which is tough to sit through, but if I can't finish a movie, and it's not often that this happens, but if there's something I can't stand to sit through, I'm not going to review it, because in my case that's what I do. But I won't, so therefore I'm not going to tell people don't go see it. You see, you really have to, if you're reviewing a movie, you got to see it from first frame to last. I don't care what it is. That's the only way to really gauge a proper reaction to what you're seeing. So never tell people, don't go see this movie unless you've seen it first. And if you have seen it, let them decide for themselves. I mean, granted, if it's, I don't know, if it is a remake of something that you love, and you say, maybe this shouldn't be made, that's not a bad thing to say technically, but of course you still have to see it. But, you know, like a Poltergeist remake, I can't say really interests me. I'm not even sure I'll ever go see it. Talked about that on a previous show. Evil Dead remake sort of interested me, and so I saw it, and it turned out to be a horrendously bad movie. I mean, it's really awful. Evil Dead is just awful. as compared to the original 1983 film, which is quite brilliant, even though it's not. It's a very herky-jerky type movie, low budget, but who cares? That's a part of its appeal. Um, but so there are exceptions. When I think, oh, this is going to be interesting, and I see it, and it turns out to be quite awful. Um, but you have to see it first before you can dismiss it. So if you think something is garbage, it might be, but you still have to see it to know that. And it's kind of goes back to Harlan Ellison, who said, it's not enough just to have an opinion about a movie or a book or whatever the case may be. It has to be an informed opinion. You actually have to sit through it. You have to read it. You have to dwell on it, whatever it is. Because otherwise, the experience of it ain't going to mean nothing to people who just say, oh, you're right, I shouldn't see that because of this and this and this I heard. Samuel Fuller, and I'll leave it at this as my conclusion. Samuel Fuller, a wonderful director. He's passed on now, but he made movies like 40 Guns with Barbara Stanwyck, The Big Red One with Mark Hamill, and a great film, which the title escapes me now, but it was had to do with journalism. I can't remember the title right off the top of my head at this moment. But anyway, he himself used to be a journalist, and he always said, if somebody tells you something because they heard it from somebody else who heard it from somebody else, chances are it's BS. You have to verify it. So you can apply that same logic to movies. If somebody tells you The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, which I will see next week, by the way, and thus I will review it on this show. If they say, oh, well, it's crap, oh, God, the ending, it's awful, whatever the case may be, see it for yourself and decide. Don't let others tell you what to do. You make that decision. That's part of what it's like to live in this country. It's a free country. You decide. You have your own opinion. That's what counts. An informed opinion counts even more. I'll leave it at that. So next time somebody says to you, God, that movie sucks, or I heard it sucks, that means nothing. If you heard that, who'd you hear it from? Why did you hear that? And who is their source? Did they see it too? And if not, then you decide for yourself. But if you're not interested, fine. That's your freedom as well. So there you have it. Movies, don't judge them by their cover, by what it is that you think they might be saying or not saying, or whatever the case may be, or its quality, or judge it for yourself. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.